Basically, the day that I decided I think I have to become a Christian, I realized no matter what I do, even if I achieve all of my goals, even 100 times exceeding my wildest dreams, one day that's going to not matter.
Is there a purpose for your life?
Right.
And I think everyone feels this, like they almost can't help but say yes. I mean, they at least feel an, I think, irrepressible desire to want to say yes. I think it was Nietzsche. I think he said something like the only question to ask, and this is a little dark, but you brought it up a little bit. He said the only question that matters is,
welcome to Sips with Sarah. We are joined today by the co-founder of Truthfully, Zach Johnson. I blanked for a second because of the pressure of the camera.
I was like, which camera do I
it.
look at?
Yeah. Zach Johnson. Thanks for having this conversation with me.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Truthfully,
but
I want to talk about you as well.
Sure. Yeah.
But just real quick, can you introduce yourself?
Yep.
What is Truthly in a few sentences?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Truthly is the Catholic AI app that has been around for about a year now. So we use AI to help people learn about the faith, grow deeper in their own faith, but also share the faith with others. So we wanted to create an app, a tool that would just give people the best chance to share their faith with confidence, with clarity. So even if you don't have a PhD in theology, like I wish I had, like we've got an app for you, you know?
Right.
So we use AI to help people get quick answers to any question that they might have or a friend might have about the Catholic faith. And then we also use micro-learning techniques to help people kind of dive deeper.
Nice.
So we do like daily content in the app about a specific truth of the faith and just kind of unpack that in a practical way. So both the head knowledge, but also like, here's how to live it out. And here's even how to share it. Like if you want to talk about this with other people, like here are some pointers on how to share this. And it has an action for the day too. So we're really into activating the church, like helping people take action on their faith.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the biggest passion for us is giving people the tools, you know, whether that's, you know, AI technology or whether that's just like short, crisp, you know, courses and lessons and daily truths and stuff like that. We really want to inspire people to know the faith, live it out, and share it.
That's great. That's a great mission.
Thanks. Thanks.
And
we're excited about it.
And you co-founded it with Jacob.
Yeah.
That's
my
awesome.
best friend. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about like how that all came about.
Sure.
But I want to hear first about yourself. You're a cradle Catholic, if I remember from our conversations?
Yeah.
And did you have some kind of a reversion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so my mom is wonderful. She took me to mass every Sunday growing up. So the foundation was kind of there.
Nice.
But, you know, it didn't, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. Nothing was really clicking for me. Like we went to mass, but, and maybe it's just like, I was just a kid. So like, maybe it couldn't have clicked yet, you know, I don't know. But, I was just like, oh yeah, you go to mass and it's kind of nice. And, then you just get back to your video games, you get back to your friends, and like, then you have to go back to school. It was just it was like a footnote in life. Thankfully it was a footnote, you know, thankfully I was going, which is great, but it never really took root in me. But I knew that I wanted to be like a good Christian. I knew that I wanted to, like, I didn't have any desire to like go out and break the rules for, you know, the sake of doing it, nothing like that. So I think it was good in the sense that it kind of put me on a decent path. But when I got, I'm kind of a skater kid at heart. So like just got into, you know, hard rock music, metal, alternative rock stuff, which I love to this day. Skateboarding, you know, all that kind of stuff. So just like liked going out and having fun with friends, you know, that was kind of like, okay, this is cool. I was in different bands in high school. Some of them toured, you know, recorded albums. I was in virtual school so that I could kind of go on tour and like record with my friends who were out of state. Nice. And so that was sort of like just kind of the natural trajectory for me was just kind of, I love being on stage. I love meeting people, love traveling, making music. Music has always been very powerful. For me. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, right? So that was just kind of the natural path for me, just kind of Zach's nature, you know, without a lot of grace, sort of, you know, at least not pulling on the grace I was receiving maybe every week going to mass and just kind of going through the motions through confirmation and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was at a metal show, this, you know, dark, dirty American Legion in Pensacola, Florida, which is where I'm mostly from. My dad was military, but we were there since I was like 10. that a band called For Today, Christian metal band.
Sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure I've heard of it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
They're I don't think they're active anymore, but dude, they were awesome. I mean, it's gonna be kind of scary if you're not used to like, you know, kind of metal, but dude, it's changed my life, man. Like, so the front man for that band, his name's Matty Montgomery. He has just this anointing and this just incredible, powerful, prophetic ability to get on the stage and just preach in a way that I think is one of the most powerful modes of preaching I've ever seen. Nice. And I was probably 16. And for some reason, that lit something in me that's stayed alive, you know, to this day. So I still carry a lot of that kind of energy and that passion from like being in a band, you know, kind of energetic, aggressive, like Christian music, skateboarding, active, being out, you know, wanting to hang out with friends, wanting to meet people. Like that energy has kind of like, I still feel like that kid in a lot of ways, you know, but that's awesome. Anyway, that's kind of like the beginning of, you know, the journey for me.
I think that's a lot of people relate to that. I wasn't raised Catholic, as people who've seen this show know. Yeah. But a lot of the friends that I have who were raised Catholic just kind of fell out of it because they were like, I was raised with it. Yep. We went every week, and I was like, I don't really understand it, so I just stopped going because I didn't get it. Right. And I feel like, truthfully, is one of the many things that Catholics are trying to do to counter that.
Right. Yeah.
So that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah. One of the things we're really passionate about is making the faith come alive for all of us, and especially for younger people who are kind of like me, where you're finding a lot of good things, you know, in the culture kind of by default. Like I was finding this music that I loved. I was finding a community of like skateboarders that I really got along with and loved hanging out with. Like these are a lot of good things there. Yeah. And then saying, yeah, that's great. And there's even more. You know, there's even something better than this. Like whatever I think as a 16-year-old or 12-year-old or however, you know, however early we can do formation like this, whatever you think is awesome about life, like there's even more, right? Yeah. John 10:10, Jesus came to bring life to the full, life in abundance. Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff here, and we can take you even further. So that's really, I think, our kind of overarching mission. Our mission, I mean, is it's about AI in a lot of ways, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but really what it comes down to is what I just described, is making the faith come alive, make it explosive, especially for a younger generation. Show them that like, this is an adventure. This is a beautiful journey that God's inviting you to, and your heart was made for it. And it's going to feel amazing when you step into it.
Yeah. And so, in the band For Today, you said he's really good at preaching, which makes me think that it's probably a Protestant.
Yeah. They were not Catholic as far as I know. Yes, and who knows? Maybe I don't know if I don't know what he is now.
Just such great speakers.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Oh my gosh.
So did you go that route into Protestantism a little bit?
That's a great question, because I'm surprised that I didn't actually. Okay. I never ended. I was always and still am to some extent, but especially back then, very enmeshed in like Protestantism and evangelicalism, non-denominationalism. All of my friends. So let me start. Let me do it this way. So For Today, I believe Protestant band. Powerful stuff that I wasn't really receiving, not the same experience at Mass. And I didn't fully understand what I was receiving at Mass, which is the best thing we could receive. But I wasn't getting that at Mass. And so I was like, this is new, this is interesting. But I think just God's one of those things that I just chalk up to God's grace, that I never felt drawn to leave the church or anything. I think I must have just known that there was something really good here, in the church. And so it kind of just helped me grow deeper in my Catholic faith, or take my Catholic faith more seriously, which again, I can't really explain that. One of the things actually was, I remember, maybe this was it. I remember around this time, maybe even younger, when I was in like middle school, meeting a really like cool Catholic priest, like a younger priest. And this was my first time meeting like a young priest who was like very good with kids, right? Like just hanging out with them, used slang, and just like was super relatable. Nice. So maybe it's all these kind of silly, it seems kind of silly, but like, I think that was actually one of the things that was like, there's relatable parts of the Catholic Church that like, I don't feel alienated from it or something. So when I find something I relate to in the Protestant world, I knew that I could also like find that in the church. You know, I think maybe that was another reason I didn't just say, oh, like the Catholic Church, nothing going on there. Because I think I did have some good experiences with you know, just priests and others who were kind of leading the way there. But then, so after I got really fired up about my faith, I remember making sort of those, like, I think it's attributed, you know, to more Protestant traditions, but making that declaration of like, I choose to follow Jesus, you know, like that was at that show. Cause I think Maddie basically called for that. I think he said something about like, if you've been lukewarm in your faith, or you were raised Christian and like, you're just going to church on Sunday, but you haven't given your life to Jesus, do it right now.
Ooh.
You know?
So he did an altar call at a
metal show. And it's not a Christian show. They're a Christian band touring with secular bands. And a lot of times in this scene, it was darker stuff, you know? I mean, it could, you know, not always. There's a lot of good, even like just secular bands, obviously. But sometimes, and maybe the culture surrounding it, as with anything, could have been kind of negative. And so these guys, the boldness, and I think this is another, I think charism of Truthfully is a level of boldness and a level of like, we'll go do something that other people might not feel called to do, but like for some reason we feel like, okay, we're gonna go do something that seems maybe a little crazy or out of the box, like AI, like Catholic AI seems a little weird, you know? So we're like, hey, we'll go do that. So maybe you're helping me unpack this right now, but and so that was. This all sounds more like something we would associate with a Protestant tradition.
This episode is caffeinated by 7 Weeks Coffee. If you click the link in the description or use code SWS at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. You'll be helping out the channel, and you will be funding the pro-life cause. Thank you, 7 Weeks Coffee. Let's get back to the video.
And but then remained Catholic, kind of started growing in my faith more, got really into apologetics. Catholic Answers, you know, was huge for me. I'm sure for like anybody, right? Yeah. Like everyone's like Catholic Answers. Thank God for Catholic Answers. Yes. So I was growing in that. I was like, dang, this is really cool. Theology's cool. Apologetics is cool. Church history is cool. You know, I found out I was a nerd after all. Like this is fun, man. And then I joined a Christian band. This was the one that I left kind of home to do. Didn't go to college. So graduated from high school and immediately moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where my wife and I, our family, we live today in Charlotte.
Okay.
Went there to join a Protestant Christian metal band. So basically the thing For Today did for me, I was like, I want to go do that for other people.
Yeah.
And all those guys were awesome, my best friends, and none of them were Catholic. And so again, like it was like I was finding more fit for just, I don't know, my personality or my interests, you know, with other Protestants. But never again that I think by this time I was like very into Catholic Answers and was like devouring everything. And Trent Horn, I remember when like Trent Horn was new on the scene, and I was like, this guy is just the like Superman to me, you know, like just incredible, the stuff he was doing. And so that was perfect timing for me, because now I was really interacting with like my Protestant friends on like a day-to-day basis, and wanted to just like explain why, as cool as their church services were, and they were and are like obviously objectively really cool, why I would still choose to go to mass for an hour, you know, and like, you know, pray in silence, or like make things a little low key in the liturgy, right? Like, why would someone do that? It seems so countercultural. And so I wanted to be able to have conversations. I wanted to, first of all, know myself, you know, why would I go do that rather than go to what seems like a much more sort of fun experience, maybe even a more powerful experience, like maybe more prayerful, like what, you know? And then I just was convinced that it's true, that the Eucharist is true, that I can't receive Jesus's body, blood, soul, and divinity. I can't be as intimate with him as I can in the Eucharist anywhere else. And so that was just what grounded me in the midst of sort of all of my ministry work with a lot of awesome Protestant friends. What grounded me was just this realization that it's true. My Catholic faith is true. And so I'll never, like, unless someone shows me it's not true, like I'm going to keep going to mass.
The Eucharist is like, that's it for everybody. I think most people that I talk to who converted or who reverted or who stayed, like you're talking about, despite even maybe recognizing some of the goodness that is in Protestantism. It's the Eucharist that keeps everybody here. That's really interesting.
Right. No, amen, man. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I was going to ask you. Oh yeah. So with all of that, Truthfully is a Catholic AI app. I have so many questions about this. So one, why a Catholic AI app? Why not just a
Sure.
broadly Christian
Sure.
AI app?
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Why are you excluding everybody? What's wrong with you?
I know. No, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, we want people to encounter the fullness of truth. And I was actually explaining it to someone the other day who asked about, what is truthfully in a sentence or something. It's like, well, it's a Catholic AI app that teaches people, that helps people learn, live, and share Christianity.
Yeah.
And they were like, from a Catholic perspective. And I was like, I mean, I don't see any difference actually between Catholicism and Christianity.
Right.
Catholicism, and I wish I would have been, in hindsight, more Socratic about this, and would have said something like, "Do you think So I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but we want to be very Socratic and help people ask questions, right? Like we're in a culture of a lot of opinions and instant answers, right? But we're not a culture that like asks questions. First of all, we don't ask a lot of questions, and second of all, even if we're asking questions, we're usually not asking the most important ones or the ones that will really change our lives and help us to live life to the fullest. So I wish I would have followed my own advice there and been more Socratic and said something like, "Yeah, do you think there's a difference between Catholicism and Christianity?" Or even just to put the finger on the fact that that's one of the most important questions we can ask is if there's a difference, and say, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that is the question that I think we all should think through, because we believe that the Catholic faith is just the fullness of Christianity. So in a sense, we are the Christian AI app, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to define your terms, of course.
Right.
But we want to lead people and help them discover and ask questions that will lead them to the fullness of Christianity, the fullness of truth.
That's a great answer. Wow. Yeah. Have you received any pushback for being an AI associated company? Like there's a lot of skepticism and fear of AI right now, and some of it I think is well founded.
Sure.
So have you faced anything where people are like, you shouldn't be doing this because it's AI and AI is evil?
Yes and no. In my real life with people, no. And it's been surprising. I remember going, we just had this wonderful priest who brought my wife into the church. So she's a convert, baptized her, right? All her sacraments. And then like a few days later married us. So just great. A priest. Yeah. We've known him for like a decade. He baptized our daughter, brought my mother-in-law into the church. So like really, really holy, beautiful, great priest. And, someone I really look up to. And so when I went to him to tell him about the idea, it was almost like even harder than like going to my dad. It was like going to my dad and being like, hey dad, like I've got this idea. Like, I hope you're excited about it. And I hope you're proud of me, and you're kind of vulnerable in that moment. Like if my dad says he doesn't like this, I'm going to be crushed forever. You know what I mean? And so when I went to our pastor with the idea, it was basically like that. Like I almost had my tail between my legs a little bit. And I was like, if he doesn't like this idea, if he doesn't like the name Truthfully, if he thinks it's silly, I'm just going to be like, oh, no self-esteem left, which is my own problem. Right. But, but when I went to him, he was like, that is awesome. Like, nice. That is amazing. You go do this. And it just felt like a weight lifted off my shoulder, of like, okay, God could be blessing this. God could be moving here, and we can at least move forward and like see what he does. And that's pretty typical of the like personal interactions that we've had. Everyone's very excited to see Catholics in this space because we're seeing how momentous AI is and how powerful it's going to be, how it's going to reshape, a lot, if not everything. And I think I think Pope Leo understands that. And so a lot of people I think what we've seen is gratitude, honestly, just like, thanks for being here, kind of thanks for thinking about these things. Thanks for creating products that like we feel safe to use, we feel like are trustworthy. So that's really what we've received a lot of is interest and like, oh, that's interesting. Like, tell me about Catholic AI. Like, how does that work? And not so much pushback. But the caveat to that is, online comments and stuff. That's kind of the only, and I'm sure that's true for anything really, is you're always going to find, and it makes sense, right? But like, stuff in the comment section and everything. So that's the only place I can remember where we've encountered any amount of sort of negativity or pushback,
Yeah.
which I'm not saying that's even bad, because I want, we can't just like trust whatever, anyone's doing. So don't want people to not be critical at all. Like, a big part of our app, again, is to help people think critically, ask questions. Like, all of that's really good. And that's mostly what we've encountered.
Man. Yeah. Yeah. The internet's a silly place.
It's interesting, right?
Like, I get a lot of negativity online, but
Yeah.
I've never met anybody in person who's like,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Like,
Right.
Everyone, I've met people
Yeah.
online or in person who are like, my friend converted because of you, or like,
Wow.
not to like pat myself on the back,
but like,
these are stories that you
beautiful
wouldn't hear
things.
about
Yeah.
in the comment section, because
Right.
people are just. I need to tell you about something very exciting, which is that we now have our own website. Yes. So if you go to cafe.sipswithsarah.com, you can go there, become a member, and you will get many exciting perks. Even more exciting than all of that is you can try it for free right now for 7 days. See if you like it. If you don't like it, you find it's not worth it, go ahead and cancel it. That's fine. But if you like it, you can just let it run its course and continue to support the channel. And I appreciate that very much. So go check it out. See if you like it. What do you got to lose? All right, get back to the video. Like, one of the things that had played a huge role in my conversion, sorry, tangent,
please.
is a conversation that Matt Fradd had
Yeah.
with Cameron Bertuzzi
Oh yeah,
several years ago on the Eucharist.
Yep.
And that was like, when was that? Like 2020 or 2021 or
somewhere
something?
around there. Yeah.
So I'm like watching this and I'm like, whoa, this is huge. And it wasn't until several years later, after my conversion, actually maybe just a few months ago, I went back and watched it again.
Oh yeah.
And I commented like, this had a huge part of my conversion. But at the time,
cool.
no one would have ever known that. And there's probably tons of other people who had the same experience.
Right. And you'll never hear about that in the comment section.
The one dude who's like upset at something that was said will go in there and for sure comment.
Of course.
So it's just,
it's almost like when we leave, like, I'm really bad about this. I can't remember the last review I've left on like a company or like a service or something that like really helped me or like came through, fulfilled promises or something. And I also don't leave negative reviews, but I feel like if I did leave a review right now, it would only be like because
I leave negative reviews.
I would have liked it. Yeah. And I get that. Right. But like,
I
don't go either way. It's interesting, right? I think, I don't know. I mean, a lot of places have a lot of good reviews. So there are some good Samaritans out there who are going out of their way to do that, which is great. But I feel like it would be if I left a review, today, my tendency would just be like, bad experience, like avoid criticism. And but I guess in person we are maybe a little more charitable or like want to help each other, maybe build each other up a little bit more than we would be,
Yeah. Now I feel convicted about the review. I'm thinking about all the bad reviews I've left at places, and I'm like, when did I ever leave it? I know I've left a good review for a really good steakhouse in Utah.
Ooh. You want to shout it out? What's the
best steak I've ever had in my life?
Yeah.
Should I shout it out?
I think so.
That's good, right?
I mean, I think so. I think it's positive. It's
Balcony
good.
One.
Balcony One
in Utah.
In Utah.
Close to Zion National Park.
Oh, cool.
That was the best steak I've ever had. I think about it every day.
Do you eat a lot of steak? Have you eaten a lot of steak?
Yeah.
It wasn't the only steak you've had.
No.
Like you're a seasoned, pun intended,
it was
steak eater.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And I'm pretty sure I left a review. If not, I'm going to go back and leave it like right after this conversation.
Yeah, there you go. Go check.
But I've had terrible steaks, and I've definitely left reviews on those.
I get that too, right? But it's just interesting, our tendency. It's just interesting to kind of analyze that and be like, maybe I could, for every negative one I leave, maybe I could leave at least one positive one. And, I could sit here and think about companies or restaurants or something that I really like, and I could always probably find a good review to go leave, balance it out.
You were talking earlier about the Socratic method and how we ask questions, but we don't ask why we're asking the questions that we're asking, or if that's the optimal question to be asking, or there's a question behind the question, perhaps. And I've noticed this with my reversion to Protestantism initially. I was an atheist for 8 years. I was, as an atheist, I didn't realize that I was having this conflict in my head, I guess, but I was really conflicted over what am I supposed to direct my life towards? And so I would attach myself to things like atheism itself became an identity for me that I attached myself to. So I was obsessed with Richard Dawkins. I have a signed copy of The God Delusion.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's a massive flex. For sure.
Yeah, dude.
So I loved him. I was like always consuming atheist content. Really into science and stuff like that. So I became obsessed with biology. I was like, that's my identity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I kind of at some level realized that I was doing this, attaching my identity to certain things. And then one day, the way that I reverted, not that you asked, but I feel like this is
No, that's
relevant.
great. Yeah, no, hey, I love it.
But the basically the day that I decided I think I have to become a Christian is I was at work and I realized, and I attribute this to the Holy Spirit. I realized no matter what I do, even if I achieve all of my goals, even 100 times exceeding my wildest dreams, one day that's gonna not matter because
isn't that wild?
in a generation or two, I'm gonna be forgotten.
Yep.
Let's say I make some world groundbreaking achievement and they build statues to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like in a few hundred years, those are probably going to collapse. And at the very least, the sun is going to explode one day and destroy the earth. You know, and
none of it's going
to be here, and nothing I ever have done will ever have mattered, good or bad.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, that's I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And so like maybe people would say my reversion was based on an emotional thing, whatever. I don't really care. But that led me to be like, okay, well, maybe I should really consider the fact that there might be a God, and I should look into who that God is, what the evidence is for that. So that led to me, to bring all that to its conclusion. That led to me asking, I think, the right questions. So
I love it.
I don't know how to turn that into a question for you. But,
no, I mean, I can't even riff on that. But that's good. It's good, man.
So like, what are some? And you see people today who are even looking. Like you can see it in other people because we're obviously like better at seeing the flaws in other people than we are ourselves.
Of course.
But you can see in other people they're like, well, I like to shop because that kind of makes me feel satisfied for a moment, or I like to do this or that. And so I feel like underlying these tendencies that we have is really just a desire for God.
Amen.
And I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. That's been known by the saints for
how many
generations.
modern folks, right? People just alive today understand that. Like I think we as kind of Catholics who are pretty involved in the church, like that seems like second nature to us, or at least it's like almost as, I hate that the best truths, the most important truths feel like cliches to us, right? Like God loves you, right? Like that's the most insane thing. Like he didn't, like you can imagine a world where like God is a dictator or some tyrant or something, and we owe him everything because we do, right? And he just exacts justice. Like that's logically, I think, like you can imagine that world, and we don't live in it, right? The reality is that God loves you, like he's your father, and he's merciful to me, even though I don't deserve his mercy, right? And so these are like things that seem so cliche to us, and they're the most powerful things in the world. I don't know how I got on that one, but all of these longings are ultimately a longing for God. I mean, I think, Augustinian, right? Like, so it's so good. And I think just to keep pointing to our mission, I think we're seeing an opportunity to sort of reintroduce this Augustinian way of thinking to the culture. And like, we want to really tap into that. And the way I think we want to help do that is by posing these kinds of questions, helping people discover these questions to ask. Why do you feel that longing? Where will it ultimately take you if you give into it or indulge it over and over again? Like, where will it lead you ultimately? Okay, why do you want anything at all? Do you want only a little, or do you want a lot, right? And so it turns out you want infinitely good things.
I want just a little bit more.
Right. Where does that? Yeah. Right. Where does that come? Yeah. Where does that come from? Like, we didn't have to feel that way as humans, as creatures. Like, why do we feel that? And I think the question that led to your reversion, I love that question. Like, the question, why do I exist? And even more pointedly, why do you exist? Like, if I come up to someone and say, hey, why do you exist? Is there a purpose for your life?
Right.
And I think everyone feels this, like they almost can't help but say yes. Is there a purpose to your life? Right. Like, I mean, they at least feel an, I think, irrepressible desire to want to say yes. Who would want to say, no, there's no, like, you don't want to. Maybe you believe that. Maybe you're convinced of that. But wouldn't you want to at least? Like, there's something in my heart at least that says, I want to say yes. There's a purpose for all of this, right? All the suffering, all the pain, the confusion, and the redemption and the beauty and the goodness that I've discovered in life. Like, that's all for a purpose. There's a meaning behind it. And so I think that question is a really good one. Yeah. And we've had experience, me and my co-founder / best friend, Jake, we've had experience just kind of testing the waters in the culture a little bit with questions like this, just in our daily lives. So there's a brewery we love in Charlotte that we went to one day to celebrate like something like a milestone with Truthfully. Nice. And we ended up having, I think, 3 different conversations with 3 different people about God that we did not go in there planning to have. And all of them started with a question like that. Like, actually, I think it was that specific question. So, because when we're wearing the Truthfully shirts, which that's all we wear it out. It's so fun. And we'll send you some if you want some. Ooh, I'm down. When we're wearing it, people inevitably ask, like, what's Truthfully? Like, it's really interesting to us. We get it all the time. And it might be because we're together and so we're both wearing the shirt. And so they're like, noticing it more than just like any other like logo. But when people ask what's Truthfully, it's I love having the opportunity to evangelize in the moment by just talking about what I do. Like, I can just talk about Jesus and I can talk about his church just by answering the most mundane question we ask each other. What do you do? What do you do? I'm working on the Catholic AI app. And again, people are like, what? Catholic AI, what? And then it just people are interested, totally just secular people we're just interacting with at a brewery, just hanging out, maybe, the bartender or whatever. And it'll eventually, everyone obviously has an opinion, right, on the Catholic Church and everything, or an experience. So many people have been raised Catholic and are nothing or are something else, and so it always solicits some sort of response, right? And so we'll kind of try to start, taking a sort of soft Socratic approach. You don't want to be a jerk and just start hammering people with like tough questions, of course. But like a soft one, like, why are you Catholic? Or like, what? You guys are Catholic? And a lot of people are actually pretty nice. No one's ever been like Catholics, and it might happen, I guess, but no one's been like, oh, get out of this place, So people are just like open and generally positive about it. Nice. And I love leading back to questions like that. Okay, you left the church. You don't believe in God right now. You're not praying anymore. Just redirect to like, what do you think there's a purpose to your life? And I just think that's do you think there's meaning? Do you think this world has meaning? Do you think the universe has meaning? Why do you, I think that's just such a good, why do you exist? You as a person who will exist for a certain amount of time and never be repeated again. Just for nothing, Right. But these kind of questions, I mean, I think what we can do is we're all so used to the, material things we interact with, our, especially, right, like our phones and screens and work and our day job, right? And then our annoying family member, and then, we get to see a friend, and then it's like, where do you want to go? We go to the restaurant. There's a new restaurant that just opened up, right? Like these are the things that are like our heads are just filled with. And so if we can kind of pierce through that with like a transcendent question, a question that points to something eternal and something higher with a question, then it's like, is there more to life than just like the stuff I'm just used to?
Yeah. And like, you might say, well, my purpose in life is to even something good, to raise my family. Or something Like, okay, is there something beyond that?
Keep going. Yeah. Why do you think that's important?
It reminds me of the argument from, now we're getting to apologetics. It reminds me of like the argument from objective morality. If morality is objective, then there has to be a God. Right. That's a very summarized version of the argument. Right. So if there is an objective purpose to our existence or to any individual's existence, then that has to be from a
purpose
God,
giver,
from a creator, right? Because things that are created have purpose because the creator has created them with a purpose in mind. Right. But if something just popped into existence,
Right.
then it can't possibly have a purpose.
No, of course not. Right.
Yeah.
It's meaningless. It's random. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like we all, I love the stuff about like main character energy or whatever, you know, like if we're all at least a character in a story, like who's writing it, you know, who's the author? Just, you know, if we are right that, you know, when I wake up every day, I should live this life. Like I should get up and like go to my job and like be nice to my coworkers, or at least try to. Like if those feelings are right, then there's got to be like a meaning, a purpose for like choosing those things rather than something different.
Yeah.
So there's
like is being alive objectively better than not being alive?
Right.
I would hope people would say yes.
Yeah.
If not, there's probably help out there for you.
Dude, no, something rocked my world when I first started getting a little bit more literate. I didn't grow up as a reader at all.
Okay.
And I came to sort of literature and just reading later in life. And I just started devouring it when I discovered it. It was like the best kept secret, you know, for me. I was like, why haven't I been like loving reading my whole life? This is the best. Again, I became a nerd, you know, very, very quickly. But nice. I love it, dude. But one of the quotes that I came across, I think, and this is way back, like beginning sort of conversion or reversion, whatever you want to call it, in my journey, way back. I think it was Nietzsche. I think he said something like the only question to ask, and this is a little deep. It's a little dark, but you brought it up a little bit. He said the only question that matters is, why don't I commit suicide?
Yes.
He said this, and I think it may not have been him. I can't remember. I think it was him. Yeah. And I was like, that, like, I can't forget that now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's one of those things that I was like, because the logic of it is really convincing, because right, if you live, you will suffer, you won't probably achieve all the big dreams and hopes that you have, at least in this life, and it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to go back to work on Monday morning, and that party's going to come to an end, and loved ones are going to be gone, right? Like all of this stuff, like, but if I just take the easy way out, right, like it's just nothing, like I'm just done, like I'm just checking out, right? So if I choose instead the path of life and of difficulty and of continuing on, like why would I choose that? There's got to be some good, right? There's got to be something to that. But that always kind of stuck with me. Yeah.
And I mean, I guess bringing my reversion story full circle, when I did come back, I just felt like, man, I was done chasing stuff. Like I was always... People who knew me before then knew I was always chasing an identity in something. I guess maybe for people it's different things, but for me it was identity, trying to find identity in things. And so I was always chasing an identity in something, something. And it always changed every few weeks or so. You get bored or something, you know, whatever. Things get uninteresting. And it wasn't until I actually came back to Christ that I was like, oh, I can just stop chasing things, because my identity is in something eternal. My identity is in something objective and eternal. And it's just like, wow, this is how people are supposed to live. This is really nice.
I mean, that's the best. One of the biggest blessings of knowing our Lord and following him, being in a relationship with him, is that you don't have to work to manufacture meaning or purpose, or like, you know, there's a lot of good stuff out there, the kind of self-help stuff that I actually really benefit from. But it feels like a lot, like if I have to read another self-help book, like just, you know, like if I kind of have to constantly be receiving this new motivation or be thinking about things in a new way, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of exhausting.
And to be fair, that does exist in Christianity as well. Sure. There's like, oh, I had a breakthrough, or I'm in a new season of life. It's like, you still seem like you're chasing something.
Sure.
Just rest.
Right. Oh no. And and it's kind of the contemplative and the active or something, right? There's always kind of a balance, right? Like God gives us a mission and asks us to give it all for the mission. Right. And then he asks us to give it all to rest, right? Leisure. You know?
Yeah. Because I feel like, I guess in some sense, even secular people, religious people, we're always chasing novelty in some form or another. And so you can...
the swipe, right? It's like new.
So you can also chase that in your faith.
In
some ways, and where you're chasing, you know, you might be doing good things, like trying to go deeper into your faith.
Right.
But for the sake of novelty rather than for the sake of getting to know
Right.
God.
Right.
Or,
Amen.
to give
Amen.
yourself over to God more deeply.
No.
Man,
Yeah.
I did not expect this conversation to go here.
You never know,
but
man.
This is
You
awesome.
never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
On that point, so
Yeah.
we're at Steubenville, right? We're in Steubenville. We're
Yes.
across from the university. I guess I was a senior. I think they let me go to a Steubenville conference, even though I was like had just graduated. I don't know if that's normal or something, but I think I was a senior in high school when I went to my only one. And when we did Adoration, it wasn't my first time, but it was definitely, people have these, experiences with the conference, and it's awesome. And my first time sort of I think a lot of people, is their first time in like a big group Adoration, session. And I remember thinking, this is what heaven will be like, I'm pretty sure, is an eternity, unchanging, not really novel. Of course, there's always God's infinite. So there's probably some way that like he's infinite, he's infinitely delightful. He's also like simple, right? That kind of divine simplicity. And he just is. And we just worship him for all eternity in a way that's like utterly delightful and wonderful and never gets old. Right. And I remember trying, and I've tried since then to train myself for that, right? To kind of train myself for heaven, to not have, that addiction or like just tendency toward novelty or like endless novelty. Because I think we can have this imaginary view of heaven, and I'm not an expert on what heaven's going to be like or anything, but I think we can have this imaginary view of like heaven will just be like this world, but just like better, right? It's like, I don't know for sure, but I think that might be sort of an earthly view of it, right? Of like, oh, I'm gonna finally learn tennis in heaven, and then I'm gonna finally learn guitar in heaven, and I'll be able to play piano perfectly. Like maybe that would be pretty sick, and I kind of hope it's like that. But at least it's gonna be I'm worshiping the Lord and loving the Lord forever, right? And if that sounds boring to me, or if it sounds like I need more novelty, I want to train myself to desire that and to want that. And that's why it hit me so much at that Steubenville conference, was because I was like, this is great. I could do this. I could see myself doing this forever.
This was at Adoration?
Yeah.
Man, Adoration was one of the things it's hard. It still is a struggle sometimes for me to get into.
Oh, of course.
Because kind of what you're describing, like, I feel like if I don't go there and have some emotional experience, I failed at Adoration.
Sure. Right.
But most people that go to Adoration don't have some emotional experience.
Sure.
I have had very recently some really crazy, like, I had an experience recently, which this is going to sound nuts to people, and I haven't said this publicly.
Sure. Well, thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah. But I had a vision of, and maybe it's just me imagining things, whatever. I don't care. God can work through your senses. God can make you imagine something that's edifying. But I had this vision of just Jesus, and he was, I'm going to cry. He was reaching out his hand, just like, hey, I'm here. Like, just, and I think there's a meme of it, but it didn't look like the meme. So I wasn't just remembering the meme.
Yeah, no.
But it was powerful. And I got this feeling of like an older brother who was just like, I got you, man.
Yeah,
and I was like,
dude.
Man,
oh, that's so good. Chills, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. So I don't know why I brought that up.
Well, the
Adoration is,
they happen, right?
Yeah.
And they're good. Right? Like God gave us them.
Yeah.
And so I've always seen it, like one of my mentors growing up, when I was really trying to take my faith seriously, described it as like the gift of tears. Like it's a gift, to cry, to like be moved to tears, or to me, even if you don't end up crying or like ugly sobbing or whatever, like just to feel the movement of your emotions, right? See it as like, oh, thank you, Lord. I don't want to feel like I always maybe need it, or like I find my identity in like endless sort of, emotional highs or something. Right. But when you receive them as a gift and a blessing, like God gives them to us for a reason, right? To then deepen the intimacy or deepen the relationship, and then you can continue going. Maybe it's a little more dry for a bit, and then you make some more progress. But and I think just knowing that the goal or the project I'm working on with my soul is to get to that place where I would love to worship God in simplicity for all eternity. Like I'm not there, right? Yeah. And some days maybe are easier than others, and like at a conference, like it seems so easy, like I'm riding that wave.
For sure.
And then I want to go back to ordinary life, to the quiet moments, and continue to like, okay, I'm going to continue to work on that like every day. Even if I don't get back to that experience, like I want to train myself as much as I can with God's grace.
Yeah. Man, that's beautiful.
good, man.
I don't know where to go from there.
I don't know either. We've already talked about the most important thing right there. So
yeah, right. I have a final question.
Yeah.
And you can riff on this
Sure.
however you want. But truthfully, Matt Fradd describes it in his ads on it as if ChatGPT was baptized, went through OCIA, all that good stuff. What makes Truthfully more useful than just going to ChatGPT and being like, "Hey, talk to me as if you went through baptism and OCIA."
Sure.
Like, why use Truthfully over GPT or some other AI app that's out there?
It's a great question. Yeah. So I think the easiest way for people to kind of see a difference here is to say you would never send your seeking friend or non-Catholic friend to ChatGPT to learn about the Catholic faith, right? Because it would say, hey, there's a lot of different perspectives on this, and like, the church says one thing that's seen as like pretty, divisive and controversial. So like, here are other perspectives, and like we don't. Again, we want to think critically. Like, it's great to know all the perspectives and then discover what's true, of course. But if you're trying to help your friend truly, right, like not just receive maybe misconceptions, right? I think Fulton Sheen said something like, you probably know this quote better than me, right? There's like 1 million people who there's like 7 people, right? Or 3 people or 2 people who hate. And let me get it back. I think it's this way. There's 1 million people who mistakenly,
I know it.
I'm
I know
losing
it.
it.
I got you.
I'm tired of it.
He said something like there's not 100 people in America who hate the Catholic Church.
There we go.
But millions who hate what they perceive the church to be.
There you go. He starts with the negative. That's what I was throwing me up. No, and I think that's so true. And so there's just a ton of misconceptions, right? And so we built Truthfully to be the app that you can send your friend to, to just know, or even if you just want to know, like that it's got the guardrails up front, and you don't have to sort of like go around and you can kind of get ChatGPT where you can kind of get it. If you just kind of want something simple to know, like, okay, this is going to be, from the heart of the church. This is going to be our faith, the deposit of faith, all the stuff that the magisterium teaches. That's what you're going to get, Truthfully. And the great thing I love doing is just being like, hey, there's an app, like you can download it. You can ask any question at all about the Catholic faith and all these other traditions, all these other viewpoints out there too. And what's cool is you're always going to get the Catholic perspective on it. So it's basically an app that gives you the Catholic perspective on everything. It'll always kind of unfailingly give you a Catholic lens to look at the world through.
Nice. Yeah, I've used it a lot. By the way, I should say I'm not being paid for this interview.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, if the offer's
depends on what
there,
you say here. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
If the offer's there, then I'm open to it, but I'm not being paid for this. But I have used the app a lot, and I'll talk about a recent experience. I was on the plane and I was listening to wonderful apologetics from somebody who believes in penal substitution. So I was asking Truthfully, what is the Catholic stance on penal substitution? Did God have to die in order to forgive our sins, or could he have done it some other way if he wanted to? And so what I received was basically we described what the church teaches on this, what Aquinas has said on it. Beautiful. Very and easy to understand and very beautifully put. Good. And so for anybody who's in suspense, the church teaches that God did not have to come in the incarnation and die for our sins. He could have saved us some other way, but this was the most loving way that God could have affected the forgiveness of our sins.
It's amazing.
So
it's beautiful. Well, I'm glad it helped. Hey,
that's so it's a great app, and I highly recommend it, even though I'm not being paid.
Well, thank you. Hey, thank you. Yeah, we'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, man.
Course,
this has been
great.
great.
Thank you. No, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. Check out Truthfully. God bless, and cheers.
All right. See you next time.
Yeah.